Hello everyone, and welcome to a bi-weekly Warframe news podcast. I did say Warframe in that, right?
Yeah, but what's the show called, Dea?
Didn't I say Via the Void?
You didn't say that.
Okay. I think I was so concerned of not saying Guild Wars 2 since I've done that so many, it's so ingrained in my mind. I'm constantly thinking that. I completely... So yeah, this is Via the Void. They saw the intro unless they use a timestamp later on. Yeah, like I said, a bi-weekly Warframe podcast, which we'll try to cover all the big news around Warframe and DE since our last episode, which was September 3rd. So basically from then on. And it's myself at simply_Deo and my good friend at Age Night Road. Say hello, Age.
Hello.
So let us jump right into it. Like I said, our last episode was September 3rd, and literally I think it was September 4th they dropped episode 4 of Nightwave. And I was like, oh, we missed it by a day. Which for people who don't know, it's kind of like their new way to deliver like kind of side stories around the universe. And a new reward, a way to give rewards instead of like the old system. But yeah, so basically episode 4, and I have the video right here that plays when you first enter. So this is where the supposed meeting where Arlo will speak, and when it comes to him, it pans up to him, all the people that were worshiping and following him, and all this little boy does is laugh.
Oh, that's not good.
Laugh in all their people's faces. Yep. I think even what's her face, the narrator, Nora. Yeah, she even says something like that ain't good. Like, it's just because as you're about to see as it pans up, Arlo coughed up something. And it was what everybody was thinking. He is infected beyond belief. Got this weird tentacle tongue infected thing spewing from his mouth.
I've seen Resident Evil. No.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's going down apparently, and when you first see that, then you start to realize on each of the maps there is a derelict ship parked outside of, I think, all the major planets. It seems like all the kind of normal planets, like we have, like, because I think Europa does not have a derelict outside of it, but I think it's like, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, I guess Sedna, and yeah. But yeah, I don't think it includes Europa or the Void or that would be a kind of a spoiler. I told you that the other one that it probably doesn't have, which technically isn't a planet. But yeah, I think that covers all those. But basically how it works to get onto the derelict ships, it seems like every day it picks 2 planets. It might be twice a day, 2 planets at a time, where you have to do 3 invasion missions. So basically, if you're going for one of the rewards on one of those planets, it's usually one of the nodes, because you usually have to do 3 to get one of the side with one of the invasion factions. But once you do 3 of them, they'll send you in the mail a key to get onto the derelict ship. Now you don't have to do it on that planet. So if you do the, I don't know why you would, but if you get the, say if it's Pluto and Neptune are the 2 planets they give you, you could theoretically, if you wanted to, do the invasion missions on Neptune and you get the key, you could use it on the Pluto one. Once again, don't know why you would want to, but so you can do that. There are a couple special infected. I remember the one was when you kill it, it kind of creates like a mass on the ground that I think will do some, like a little bit of damage to you, but if you don't destroy it, he'll basically come back up, start attacking you again. There's like leapers. There's this like big broody one. I forget what it actually kind of does. I don't know. I've been kind of shooting a lot of them in the face, but if you complete one of the derelict missions, I think it gives you 1,500 Nightwave rep towards your progression. And I don't know if it's every time, but it seems like a lot of time. Or the emissary guys are showing up a lot more frequently, and they'll net you 200 reps. So you can make some pretty good ground by just running these. I would say. But have you had a chance to play any of these?
No, I have literally been leveling frames all weekend into like this one mission and then doing bounties on the alternates. So like I haven't done Nightwave. Like I haven't gone out of my way to do Nightwave right now. I've just been keeping up with like the different episodes as they come along.
I know I've been doing it mostly because I wanted to at least get each of the ones on each of the planets existed, so I tried to do them at least once. Mainly because it is one of those an absent blue diamond that keeps flashing at you, teasing you. Granted, I don't think it counts against the arbitration stuff, so you're not SOL if because of this event. But it is that little person, and the little voice inside me, like that's there. I got to get rid of it. But I also am wondering, like, if there might be maybe something more to it if you have dealt with each of the basically invading derelict ships from every planet. Probably not, but I don't know.
I'm not sure. I do. There's one thing I don't like from Nightwave is those 3 random.
Yeah, I think they're called the emissaries, or
Emissaries.
I could be mistaken, but
Whoever
yeah,
they
the
are,
3 guys that run around now, they basically give you the 200 rep.
they really hurt. They really hurt, especially when you're leveling.
Oh yeah, if you're leveling a frame and they pop
Yeah.
up, or a frame that you're not familiar with, and you're just like, oh man.
Yeah, so I'm like, I need to like shoot them in the face super fast and jump around, and then while also trying not to get mob infested. So fun
Yeah,
times.
they can definitely make it fun. Like I think the most recent one of the recent ones I had on one of the derelicts, it was a survival, so I'm trying to stand by one of the air survival things, and you know, not only did they spawn, I also had the Juggernaut spawn.
Oh, I've had that. Yeah, that is not fun.
I actually didn't mind. I don't know. For me right now, the Juggernaut. Granted, I wasn't also leveling up a frame or anything. I was taking one of my. I was having fun with Wukong. I have been enjoying Wukong. Granted, it's only the regular one, but I might have to go grab that, which we'll talk about a little bit of news about Wukong later.
Yeah.
But
Just as a side note, I've noticed slash damage does tremendous amounts of damage in Juggernauts.
oh yeah, yeah. I was gonna say I don't tend to have that many problems with Juggernauts. I think I've gotten used to them, especially after doing some of the main mission or some of the story mission things where you have to get different parts of the Juggernaut.
Yeah, I did that.
So
mission.
after a while, you're just like, I'm not scared of these guys.
Yeah, good times.
But yeah. So you go pick that stuff up. I think there are some sigils, I think, or emblems attached to the new infested. I know if you kill a couple, I think you get like the leaping infested symbol or something like that. So which I think I got it the first time I was running one, so it doesn't seem like it's a hard drop to obtain or anything like that. It's just so if you do run these, you're probably gonna get the little emblem thing pretty easily. But yeah, there is only one more episode, which I don't know. It seems like they kind of give them each 3 weeks, so I don't think it would occur this week. I'm guessing it might come out next week. Would be episode 5, possibly. If it seems like they've been right around the 3 week mark, if I'm remembering correctly. So I mean, what do you think is going to happen? And you think we're going to have the thing come out of Arlo and we got to fight that thing?
Resident Evil has taught me anything. Actually, any alien movie has taught me anything.
As long as he doesn't have a triangle head.
But yeah, we're probably gonna fight it, or it's gonna like infect the area or something like that. And I feel like all the people he cured are prone to like get screwed. That's what I'm thinking.
Oh yeah.
But
well, I think it was after last week's episode we were kind of just quickly talking side thing, and I think I think it was you that said it, and I absolutely love the idea. Was kind of, would this maybe be potentially an alternate strain of Helminth or infested, which it's like one of those things like the Helminth that we normally get. It's like the chicken pox, you know, when you're young, but then what is it? I think it's shingles that you can get, which is like 10 times worse chicken pox that you can get again because it's slightly. But it's like, what if this is a second strain that our Warframes can get, even though we were already okay with the Helminth one, that could be 10 times worse.
Get a different Helminth, so you have to extract it, and otherwise you're just gonna have. I don't think they'll kill your frame, but I think they'll like.
I would say that would be pretty ballsy if they killed your frame off. That like, oof.
I think it'd be more like degen your health in missions. So like you'll go out in missions and you'll just suddenly be dying, and it's like, why am I dying? Why am I? Oh, I have this thing on my neck.
I'm wondering, would this somehow be a slight lead into the thing we were talking about last week that was kind of talked about, but I think then they delayed it because they couldn't figure it out, was basically the way to make when you hop into operator mode, if you have Excalibur Umbra, it can move around kind of freely. It can't use abilities or anything, but it just kind of swings, uses its weapons and stuff. What if it's a story version of that, where maybe you have to get this new one, extract it like the Helminth thing, and you can use it on like a particular frame to work automatic or work outside of your control. I don't know. It kind of just hit me that maybe
like a fun upgrade, I guess.
Yeah. An upgrade. Go get infected.
Yeah, infested theme Warframe, something like that.
Well, I mean, we do have an infested theme Warframe with Nidus, so I wonder how he would react to all that stuff. People are like, this is nothing. Like, just brush it off. But I don't know, a lot of cool possible ideas. I mean, we'll hopefully find out soon what's gonna go down. But yeah, how are you liking the story so far?
It's like, well, it was gonna go bad.
Yeah.
So you just want to know how bad, I guess, at this point.
I mean, if we see, this is where I'm curious of what's this going to lead into, and that's why I was trying to pair it with maybe one of the updates was, when we were Wolf of Saturn 6, he started getting some Orkan tech, because of Alad V's, what we now know is deal with all those people, and that's why you have the Ropolist as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because in all of his other amalgam monsters is because he mixed the two. What if, and that's kind of why I threw out that idea of making the sentient frames kind of like Excalibur Umbra, but now they use it infested type thing. Or what do you think will come next is, I guess, my question. If it seems like we're getting better infested.
Oh, a new strain of infested. That's also
Okay, so
possible.
yeah, probably
Leading into
leading into the new war. Yeah, so
that's also true. Yeah.
or it could be leading into Imperium and be like, all this infested, we need to get away in our ships. I just want Empyrean. But yeah. So that was the Nightwave stuff. We also with I believe it was this past week or it might have been the week before where we did have the patch notes, which did have another update to the graphic system, which I believe I have. It was a little photo that Steve tweeted out. Kind of shows off the more the it's more of the dull looking metals, making them render better. So just a little update from that. Some other disruption changes. Basically now requiring 8 completed conduits to extract. They did say it was always meant to be 8, but mainline didn't include the change. They do say rewards are still given every other round, so 4 conduits per round equals 2 rounds to extract. But some little changes to reduce clutter and stuff like that. But we talked about last week, and I know, I do know that they were or not last episode. Sorry, the Universal Syndicate medallions, which you can get mostly out of the disruptions. And we were talking about last week how they were originally it was just syndicates that you could put the 1,000 rep towards. Then they said they had plans to include kind of the secondary, like vent kids, the quills and stuff like that. And they did do that, though they did decide to not do it with one of the ones that they originally named, and that was the Conclave rep, which is the PvP kind of rep for people that aren't familiar. And I mean, everybody was totally fine with that, right? No one was angry.
Yeah, no. I assume not. I think I'm in agreement to it. If I want rep from a PvP mode, I think it should be earned. I actually don't know the rewards you get from Conclave, so
I know it's a lot of like what I think PvE people will get out of it are like weapon skins,
yeah,
like different things like
I
that. Like
don't
it's
I
all
don't
cosmetic stuff, really.
yeah, I don't think you should be able to earn PvP related rewards without playing PvP.
Though, I mean, if you see some of the reps that we have to get, like even the last tier is like what, 132,000, or I think it might even go higher than that. But and then that keeps adding and adding. For what I think they said it was, I forget the drop rate. I know it's a pretty low drop rate in disruptions to begin with, and it's only 1,000. I know people were doing math, like you would have to run so many on average, because there's going to be,
Yeah, I know, but I still think it's not a good idea.
So you don't think that might entice some people to stick it out because it's like maybe they farmed a lot of disruptions and they're that much closer to the next tier or something like that, and they're like, well, I'm just gonna, like, because supposedly you do get a lot more from the conclave than you would from trying to farm disruptions, of course. So it's like, would that maybe entice people to go, let me get that like last little bump, or you know, heck, maybe it made people
Oh,
realize there is a PvP. I mean,
yeah. I mean, like, I think the coin should be earned in PvE, and it should stick to PvE rep. Just because if you attach it to PvP, you're just gonna have. I feel like there's just a very weird imbalance that comes with that. Um, and then you have PvE players who are just earning stuff in PvP without playing PvP, and even if it's shorter, like they could increase the drop rate later, and it becomes a whole thing. And I think
yeah.
keeping it simple is just like getting. It's just it's a good thing because it's no headaches and not a problem. There's a clear cut thing for it. So
Though this has cropped up a bunch of people, and I kind of agree with it. Is I do agree with, while I would have personally liked being able to earn PvP and skins from the PvP in PvE, I understand that it should be, it's kind of like that throughout most games.
yeah,
Um,
it's like yeah. I mean, like uh, I don't know if the PvP is good or if there's problems with it, but
well, I was gonna say, I think that's what's kind of cropped up is, people kind of say that they really dislike conclaves in general, just because of, as their words are, it's not fun to play. Which, granted, I wish I tried this week to maybe hop into a couple games to maybe have an idea.
hmm,
And now with the first point here, I now understand why the wait and queue times sometimes never pop. I've tried at like in 20-minute intervals and never got into matches. And I maybe tried two, like I would
I
say
don't.
3 times. I
I,
think 3 times.
I don't think it's popular. Like,
And I think that is the problem. But
yeah.
also, I think when people get in there, I believe, and I haven't found anything else otherwise, it is still based on peer to peer, like Warframe is. So, if for people who don't realize what peer to peer is, or it when you're loading into a game, a regular PVE tile set, and you see those little numbers next to you, like the one means that's who's basically maintaining that map for you. So I'm sure people are familiar with the migration stuff. That's basically when that person leaves, they gotta get the next person. It reminds me of how Xbox Live, like original Xbox console and Xbox Live, with that system where like a lot of Halo playing, where it was like people had their own dedicated server like, and conveniently things would go wrong, like the ping would be super high for you, and it was always weird that the person that was running the server was always the one that was winning. I don't know if that's the case here. Like I said, wasn't able to get in. They did, I think, in 2016. I don't remember the exact date. Let me see. Yeah, 2016. They did bring up this, and I wasn't even aware about this, the volunteer dedicated server system, which basically, if you go into your options, you're able to set up your computer, or if you have another computer at your home, to be a dedicated server that could be open to other people to connect to, or you could theoretically make it a clan server or something. But basically, they're going to use one of your computers as a dedicated standard server, which it sounds like they talk about some kind of compensation, like you might get something for your account for doing it. I couldn't find anything from the blog post from 2016 or anything surrounding it. So I would imagine if they do that, I would hope they would be like, hey, you get a couple platinum a month for keeping it up or something. Like, I would hope something like that, or something,
Hmm.
interesting, useful. But like I said, I didn't see anything. If maybe someone that's was around in 2016 playing the game and they're aware of it, please do let us know. But my biggest question is, since they do have that system and it does help it a little bit, in reality, how many people do you have that have adopted that to help deal with that issue?
Hmm.
But But yeah, in the end, it's like, yeah, it just seems like if you can't get into Conclave to play it to earn the rep, they either ideally figure out how to have a better PvP game mode or a functional one that you can get into, or let you earn it in a different way because it's just not, working.
Yeah.
And I know another thing that people have brought up. Oh, were you gonna say something about the PvP, specifically the game mode, or?
Yeah, well, peer-to-peer PvP is not the greatest thing. Um, so yeah, the even if you have a dedicated server, and I looked at the list, there's quite a few. So it's just having like these. It's hard to say. It's just because I personally believe if you're gonna play PvP, you should have a dedicated server for it, and it should be from the game company itself. I honestly don't. Well, the only peer-to-peer games are like some Steam games, like Counter-Strike, I would imagine. But uh, I guess it's not impossible to say there's no peer-to-peer games these days. But I don't think anything recent has peer-to-peer. Now that I think about it, I think mostly everything's dedicated, or it's just like maybe some Ubisoft games. I'm trying to think, but I can't think
Yeah,
of
I was
any.
gonna say it feels like a very dated like concept for
Yeah,
a
the Warframe is like 7 years old, I want to say.
mm-hmm, something like that.
So, I mean, it's around the time where peer to peer is kind of like slowly dying off. Um, but yeah, just like that. In
And I think
addition,
in the end, PvP was kind of like, and I think they've even said nowadays that they understand that their game is a PVE dominant game. So it's
yeah,
and that's I think the sad part is I don't even think now PvP is a big focus for them. They might get to it eventually, kind of a thing, if they can.
yeah, I would say, um, I'd say focus, yeah, more on the PvP because like the game is really. I don't know if the PvP is any good. I don't know if people enjoy waiting 20 minutes for matches. That's pretty insane for me. But it has to be worth it, I guess. And so, but if people think PvP is viable in this game, if people think they have to kind of like advocate for it, um, otherwise it's not going to pick up at all. So
Which I know another of the big
from
topics that
experience.
some people brought up about the whole they shouldn't have took Conclave out of this option was, and I'm curious about it is, and they listed a lot of examples, but do you think it's okay for PvE content to render itself useless in of itself as a system? Because, for example, I know one of the ones that I've experienced personally was, and little tip for anybody, if in Path in well Path of Exile in PoE, which Plains of Eidolon, um, you have to actually get a mining laser to mine with, but you get a pretty crappy one at the beginning. But as you slowly get your ranks up with Cetus, you can get a better and better one.
Okay.
But when Fortuna came out, literally the first one you can get with at the very base rep is better than the top tier Plains of Eidolon one. And that was just
Oh,
one of the smaller examples. There were a couple that people kind of listed out, but so it isn't just a
that
couple
seems
things here.
weird. It seems because I remember the fishing spear. I remember I had to buy the other fishing spear for tuna just because I couldn't use the one from planes.
Oh yeah, the electroshock one.
Yeah, and that made sense, right? So
Yeah,
I'm not sure why they didn't do the same for the Lathes mining laser. That's weird. That's weird
yeah,
for me. But I do have the Fortuna mining laser because, like,
yeah. Make sure you're using it in Plains Vitalon because, like I said, it's
I have actually. I didn't even notice that there was a difference or anything. I was just like, I have these 12 slots. I don't want to go into the spiral of death, so I just like,
the spiral.
yeah. So I'm just gonna swap out my Eidolon one for the Fortuna one. And like, I didn't think much of it.
But yeah, I think we're in an agreement. And, like, I think that was the biggest uh, issue people had during the patch notes was the Universal Syndicate Medallion, which, once again, like I said, while I would have loved to gain PvP rep in PvE, because if you're familiar with our Guild Wars 2 podcast, I'm a pretty big deal in PvP. That's just all I got to say. So much so that if there was a way to earn it in PvE, that's how I would go. But I understand that their logic behind it as well. I kind of like how you're saying, Age, is that's how they replied of they didn't feel it was right to add a PvE path for a PvP game mode. Now, as long as they don't do it the other way, which I don't think there currently is, and I mean, granted, it doesn't sound like they're really working on anything PvP related, so might not have that problem. But the final thoughts on the patch notes or the medallion in particular?
I don't know. I don't have any.
Well, we got another dev workshop where they wanted to revisit arbitrations. Before they had such a big deal in PvP, he stopped playing, so others exactly. I was just always on top of those leaderboards, and
How considerate of you.
I know. But basically, for people who don't know, arbitrations are kind of like a hard mode version of that randomly gives you a task every hour, and it increases a strength of 1 frame and 1 weapon, and it basically can be any of the mission types like survival, evasion, anything like that. And the whole time there's enemies that are basically, if they're close enough to this arbitration drone, that are shielded, that can't really take damage until you destroy the drone, and then it pretty much destroys those enemies, so it's kind of nice. But they wanted to revisit it, basically looking at the rewards and time investment for each type of match. They are very aware that apparently excavation was a clear outlier in terms of reward output for time spent, where luckily they're not nerfing it. They're actually trying to bring the other mission types up to the standard set by excavation. They did say all missions will return to regular rotation except for excavation. So for people that aren't familiar, originally when you went to arbitrations, you know how if you, for example, if you're in a survival, how every 5 minutes you get a reward. Well, in arbitration, it was every 10 minutes. So you had to last a little bit longer. And since the enemies were harder and also protected, it made it a little bit tougher. But like we said, with this proposed change, they are planning on what sounds like bringing all those down to the 5-minute mark and whatnot. So they did say timers on excavators will be reduced to compensate. So all modes should be receiving rewards at a similar rate.
Okay. Seems good.
They were going to change the rotation cadence. The rotation cadence will be changed from A, B, and then C, 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 C to A, A, B, B, and then C onward. So the same level of time investment is encouraged. So if you're trying to go for some of those mods that only are in arbitration, I guess you still have to put in that same time investment. Mm-hmm. They did say endo rewards will be reduced to roughly 75% of what they once were, since you will be receiving rewards twice as often. Rare non-endo reward drop rates are unchanged. You'll just get twice as many chances. The Arbiter drones, which are what the ones I was talking about that protect the enemies, will now actually have a small chance to drop Vitus Essence on kill, which for people who don't know, when you in the method it is, or in this way it is now, when you finish an arbitration, you get this one Vitus Essence, which looks like a gold nitan extract. Basically, that is a currency to be used. I think it can get you the blood ephemera. Thinks some of the Gara parts, but like some decorations, some little things. But now it seems like while on top of getting it from completing the arbitration, there's a chance from the Arbiter drones to drop them as well.
Okay.
You need to do disruption maps so you can do. Oh, because yeah, I think I said that earlier. Was you need to complete the star chart. Pretty much most of them. There's like 2 exceptions. I think it's Mutalist Alad V and the Jordis Golem that don't require
Sorry, I'm stuck
arbitration.
on that one.
But yeah, it's if you have just those 2 left, you should be able to do arbitrations. But they did say some rewards: 5 new aura mods that follow a more nightmare or corrupt style. They did say final numbers will be posted in update notes, so nothing really here. You got aerodynamic that has aim glide plus the aim glide, but reduced damage taken while airborne. Swift momentum, faster charge attack, and increased combo counter. Shepherd, positive comparison companion hit points, and increased companion armor. Combat discipline, reduced HP on kill for self, and increased HP on kill for allies. And melee guidance, reduced melee combo on self and increased melee combo on allies. You can also have. There's also going to be 5 new Warframe arcanes as well. On rifle kill, melee damage increased by X amount for X or Y amount of seconds. On melee kill, rifle damage increased by X amount for Y seconds. On pistol headshot, X% ammo efficiency for Y seconds. On 6 melee kills, heal companion by a particular amount. And on heavy weapon summon, gain X armor for Y seconds. So I'm curious what you think it's. How do you feel about the rewards?
Um, I mean they're very nice. Like the auras got double bonuses for like one specific thing. The Warframe arcanes are always nice. Just having more options there, it looks good. Like I don't have any, but like I eventually will probably get one. I really like because some of them proc really well with some other frames. So like rifle kill, melee damage increase, that'd be good for like Wukong or something like that. So yeah, seems good. Like it. I personally don't know all the arcanes, but I like these ones I see. So
Some also drop tables will also include the occasional bundle of 5 science stars or 3 Vitus essences. And Kuba has been added to the Arbiter offerings. Do you want to continue this while I go check on that?
sure. Who has been added to the Arbiter offerings for purchase with Vitus Essence. Okay. Oh, really? That's pretty nice. So I've been farming mostly the bounties on Fortuna for Kubo, so but I guess there's an alternative way to get it as well. 5 science stars or 3 Vitus Essence. I think is pretty more on the rare side in my feeling, just from my experience. When these arbitration rewards changes go live, the price of goods in the arbiter's reward manifest will increase by about 50%. Ooh. Oh, that's a bit rough, to be honest. When the update is released, we'll also run a script to increase players' existing Viz stockpiles by an equivalent amount. If you had 2 Viz before the update, you'll have 3 after. Oh, okay. That's actually pretty nice. So we're kind of compensating a little bit for the changes just to make sure players have the right, at least with this Viz essence. That's actually pretty nice. Seems good. Welcome back.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I
So,
read the rest of the points.
oh, okay. So awesome.
So kind of give and take with that last bit, but
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's nice that if you're not there, that they're gonna be like, or if you're not reading this when they make the change, you're not gonna be left out in the cold. Like, and you don't have to worry about, oh, I better not play arbitrations. You can still play them because you're still gonna get they're gonna bump you, give you the amount that you kind of missed out on. So, but also, I think we talked about in the past, the TennoGen Round 17 items have been accepted. Congratulations to all the people that, submitted and got in, but here's the long list, and it should be in the order that they show up here. The Warframe skins that you're seeing, you got Ash Ryuga skin by Reku, Baruch Grax skin by Faven, Frost Hissame skin by Malaya and Amo017, Harrow Velis skin by Volbjorn, the graphical walrus. Avara Kuvail Huntress skin by Ernix, Loki Oh yeah. Loki Jotunheim skin by MZ-3. Mirage Kuvail Jester skin by Ernix again. Saren Ion skin. You were loving Saren before Gauss, so maybe you can treat your Saren, give her a nice little thank you for helping you get that Gauss. But Saren Ion skin by Yadis. Trinity Nightingale skin by Matzen481. Wisp Grax skin by Faven.
oh.
And then we got some alt helmets. Gara Ruin alt helmet by Hydroxate. Wisp Damas alt helmet by Frelling Hasmelt. The chest armor pieces, we have the Diva chest armor by Lukinu _U. Fun Epack. Fanny pack. Oh god, I just got it. Chest armor by Faven. Paxie's chest armor by Malaya and Jadi. Operator accessories, the Jotunheim Spirit Oculus by MZ-3. Convolus Oculus by Lukinu _U. The Voto Oculus by O_Shimmy. The Uralis Oculus by Lukinu _U. We got the Syandanas, Jotunheim's Cloak by MZ-3. There, the Paxis Syandana by Malaya and Jadi. Then you got weapon skins. The Insidious Sword skin by Hitsu-san and Rail. Katun Nikana skin by Void Punch. Lan's Polearm skin by Faven, and Whoosh Whip skin by Faven. So those are the TennoGen Round 17 skins all in. So. So,
Jeez.
what ones were you oohing and on about while I read the whole list?
That Loki Jotunheim is
It
pretty good.
is, yeah, the whole set thing, like with
Yeah, that looked
Syandana and stuff.
insanely good. Uh,
And I'm liking the
like,
wisp grass skin, the whole thing. I've been, like I was saying before show, was I'm probably one of the few wisp people that aren't a big fan of the hood thing. Like, I don't mind it, but I know a lot of people that are like, that should have been the main skin. I'm happy with the bald head thing. I liked it. But yeah, that wisp grass skin, I was like, oh man, that's
yeah.
interesting.
Oh, some good skins though. Like the Wisp one, I like the Loki one. Marsh one was good too. The Siren one was good. The Ivara was pretty good too. Oh, that's so good. Wow. That one that
Oh
you
yeah,
that Jotunheim
I
is
like the
so
Mirage
good.
one
Like
too. I like them all. I mean,
uh, they're all really good, but like that
yeah,
Jotunheim one like really stands out to me. It's like it's bulky, but it's not at the same time, and it's like has presence, but it's like elegant as well. It's like it's really good.
for people
Uh,
that aren't sure, the Gara alt helmet, that's also showing it in like the glass form, like with the extra glass on it type thing. In case you were wondering if it
yeah.
was,
Yeah, I haven't played a Gara yet, so um, yeah, and that Insidious sword is pretty nice too.
yeah. My wallet is quaking,
I I
but I
can't do it.
just got the fanny pack thing. God.
I dropped. I bought the Wukong pack and the Sarn and Valkyr pack.
Oh,
Even though I
nice,
had some Valkyr stuff, I kind of just sold some of the Valkyr stuff that I already had.
nice. But yeah. So if you want any of that stuff, it should be coming to the TennoGen category soonish, hopefully. I mean, it's gotten accepted, so I guess it's just basically implementation now. So
Like next patch, maybe.
yeah, hopefully. But yeah, we do have actually some more goodies. Depending on if you're on console or even a little bit of goodies for PC players if you are members of certain things, which let's get into. I think the first thing that pops up due to the order of this is the Discord Nitro thing. So if you are a Discord Nitro member, which is their kind of like little subscription thing that they have, you can currently get a 7-day resource booster. But if you are currently watching this, you can still get the Saren bundle. It's still available, but that's been out for a little while, which will give you the Saren Warframe, which includes a Warframe slot, the Saren Orphid skin, dual sword Siski's skin, the Melia Sugatra, the Embolus armor bundle, the Samia Syandana, Saren Noggle statue, 7-day resource drop chance booster, and a scrolling sign decoration. So theoretically, and you could also get another 7-day resource booster on top of that if you're a Nitro member. That's important to note. On the PS4 side, for PS4 console users, you can get the Renown Pack 17. It has 170 platinum, Obsidian Samia Syandana, the Obsidian Ephemera, 3-day credit booster, and 3-day affinity booster. And for the Switch console, the Esteem Pack 3, which is you can get the Mag Opal skin, the Corinth Opal skin, which includes the Corinth shotgun, 3-day credit booster, 3-day affinity booster, and 170 platinum. And I think a couple weeks ago they did an Xbox one, which I think is looming around somewhere.
Yeah,
But
I think I
so,
remember that one. Yeah.
so there is stuff out there for I think all the consoles. But yeah, are you a little envious of any of the console ones, and are you maybe intrigued by any of the Discord ones?
It can't be envious. I think PC has an exclusive one too. And PC's been around for a while. And like
But I mean, do you see any of them where like, man, I wish that was a PC one, or you'd be
the
like, if I
the
did play on that
actually
console.
the PS4 one, I think I was like that ephemera was actually pretty nice. I'm like, oh well.
Yeah,
Don't
you
worry
can
about it.
pick up those, but also um, another episode of Deconstructing Podcast, which is the podcast where Megan Everett, one of the community managers, they kind of sit down and I think I said this last time, but if you're familiar with our Guild Wars 2 podcast or Guild Wars 2 in general, how they kind of do every once in a while guild chat, which kind of gets their like certain devs on and stuff like that. It's kind of along the same lines as this. I have their link for their YouTube, but I know they have it on Spotify, a bunch of other, different types, which we'll link the YouTube one, but I know they have links to their different various ones since it is an audio only podcast. But like I said, it has host Megan Everett, I believe, pretty much every time. I don't think someone had to sit in yet. But it has the environmental artist Brian Yu and Lionel Clegu. And it's kind of interesting. Like I said, if you're familiar with guild chats for Guild Wars 2 or any other games, kind of done sit downs. It's kind of talking to the people of, in this case, what an environment artist actually does. And they kind of talk about in general, but also kind of what they have done at DE specifically, which they've talked about, mostly it's been, trees, rocks, stuff like that, like the different environment stuff, but also on occasion they've had to help with like I think they said they've done a couple fish. I think one of them said they actually had helped with some of the monsters before, like some of the creatures before as well. So I think definitely cool to listen to if you it's kind of interesting to hear that, like, I believe one of them, I want to say it was Brian Yu, that was saying how when he was going to school, it wasn't like it was like new media was like the thing he had to go after. Like it nowadays, you probably have a lot of disciplines and stuff that are centered around gaming or programming and stuff like that, where it sounds like when he was going through, at least where he was going, it wasn't that readily available. It was kind of just like all lumped into what they were calling new media. So definitely interesting to listen to. And I think it was only 30 minutes, so it's not as bad as our shows.
It's true.
It's not as bad as a time commitment, I know. But yeah, any thoughts on the Deconstructing podcast for yourself?
No, not for me. But it's I like dev streams. I haven't been able to catch one of them yet. Well, this is a podcast, so like I haven't been able to catch this one. But
they do talk about the company, like the staff at DE's love for, I think it was Gundams. They said there was Gundams everywhere and stuff. So if you're a fan of Gundams, check out that episode. But yes, I know we were going back and forth on this. Luckily, it actually came out, I would say, officially from other medias, which was a news media it was GameSpark in Japan. They went to their TennoVIP in Japan this weekend, and I think I have it here. They showed off a video that and if you see it underneath of the video, that's YouTube's closed captioning, because I think they misspell Empyrean, and I think when they get to Atlas they just don't know what I think they said. So enjoy the really bad closed captioning along with the video. But Um, they showed off some of the Empyrean stuff, but they also teased at the next Prime Warframe, which I guess I just spoiled by saying Atlas. It's Atlas Prime. Uh, and apparently also with Atlas Prime will be Death Cube Prime. So the little,
Ooh.
little robot thing, companion robot. And from the image, you can, when they show it, you can kind of see at least one of the weapons you're going to be getting is Teku Prime fist weapons. Kind of tell from what he's holding. And it looks like there's maybe some kind of Syandana when he's running through. It doesn't look like anyone that's currently available. But yeah, that's basically dropped. And it does say in here that, and it's been pretty much known that they're trying to release Empyrean by the end of the year. But I can't wait for Empyrean. But it is important to note while we're getting to the image of Atlas Prime here, I know a lot of people are wondering, well, when is Atlas Prime going to happen? Well, just today, they announced that Wukong Prime access will be ending October 1st, which usually means it tends to roll right into the next one. So it seems like Atlas Prime will be probably launching when it flips over on August 1st as well. But I think the important thing to note here is, yes, Wukong Prime access. If you want to get like the Prime accessories or anything like that, you will have to get it before October 1st. But don't worry if you don't get to the Warframe, that particular Warframe in time. The relics will still be in game for you to farm, and you can still unlock it that way. It won't, of course, it won't be fully unlocked in the sense of you'll have to upgrade the mod capacity and stuff like that. You know, this kind of standard stuff between buying something versus earning it in game. Mm-hmm. Oh, and here's Atlas Prime here. But the important thing to note, just like as we're shifting, there's only so many Prime Warframes out at a time. One will be getting vaulted October 1st, and that will be Mirage. So Mirage Prime, Kogaki Prime, and Akbolto Prime will all be getting vaulted. So if you haven't got those yet, make sure to farm them up. Try to get them before October 1st. Now, do remember, if you do have the relics, they don't take the relics away from you. It's just you won't be able to get them as drops while the thing is vaulted anymore until it comes unvaulted at some point. But yeah, if people, there was also a still captured of Atlas Prime in case you wanted to see it as well. But you can see he actually seems like he has a neck, people. Atlas Prime has a neck. Rejoice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't wait. I think that was one of the first ones I was like, that one sounds so cool, and I was like, I gotta get it. And I
Which
really
one
did.
Really, what did he do? Water?
What's that?
Was he water based? I try to remember.
No, he's rock and tectonic. Like his one skill basically slides towards the person, just like almost like fists him, like uppercuts him type of thing. His, I might be mixing these up. His two, I want to say, does like a shout thing that like puts like when you kill an enemy, it drops rubble that basically adds to his armor. No, 2 puts up a wall, and then when you hit it, it will push the wall towards them. 3 is the one where it does like a shout type thing, and then if you kill them, they'll drop like pebbles that increase your armor, like, so it kind of attaches to you. And 4, you summon is it, I think by default you summon 1 rumbler, which is like a temporary like guy that will run around and fight for you. I think if you augment it, you get 2 rumblers that are just like less health, or maybe it's the reverse. I don't really remember, but everybody kind of likes to use the punching thing because you can really, I think it scales with your melee weapon. So if you stick a lot of impact on that and rock, you can, no pun intended, you can really rock them pretty good.
Nice. That's pretty good. Seems good.
Can't wait for that, October 1st. So act quickly. But that wasn't all that they talked about. GameSpark Japan also got to have an interview with Steve Sinclair, who's one of the developers, and a couple of interesting things that came out. Now, I do want to note, because I think they did say that these were things that they were wanting to do, like type thing, like looking into. So it's not guaranteed or anything at all. But one of the questions that was kind of raised was like basically along the lines of a PvP railjack, and Steve basically said, first, kind of let's get the PvP or PvE version in game. Next, they want to consider kind of the feedback from the players, and after adding elements such as deployment on multiple ships and hijacking of enemy ships, then they might look into kind of a PvP style thing. They kind of go into the struggle of making new content, which kind of relates into some of the stuff we'll be talking about in a little bit, where they say kind of the hard thing for them is basically making new weapons, new gear and stuff, and new mods that don't outpace the old ones, and those become useless or something.
Mm-hmm.
So they said that was kind of the hardest thing out of that. One cool thing that a lot of people picked up on was fashion frame plans. So what they're looking at is skins and other elements that they usually call fashion frames. Basically, their ability to modify their warframes. They realize that is an important thing. Fashion frame. We all love it. We just talked about TennoGen and how our wallets are scared. They said while it's still a long way to go to get a per part skin, they're working on a system that allows you to individually set up plastic, metal, and other materials for each part of your body, such as your arms and legs. So you could better pathing on the dye systems themselves, it sounds like, which I think is some for fashion framers.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And I guess this will be my portion of where I get to gush.
Yeah, that's right. The next.
They asked about maybe future version integrations on like other consoles or next gen. And one of the things I think they even said was like maybe questioning about Google and Google Stadia. And they did say that they don't have much data on demand for Stadia or streaming services, but they are positive, and they are looking more at save sharing on a cross-platform basis and development for the next generation consoles that are being carried out through the PC version, and development is being carried out in order to be able to support even more new platforms in the future. So I think they talked about this briefly about looking into the idea of the whole cross console systems.
Yeah, I think Google definitely has the infrastructure to support Warframe.
See, this is where I would be interested to see how this works, because we said how basically Warframe's peer to peer.
Yeah, exactly.
Wouldn't this basically be a dedicated server?
Like, yeah, pretty much.
Like,
because like well, the thing is, it like the if I'm understanding how Stadia works is like they run the server, right? So the server, the Google Stadia servers run the game. They don't necessarily run the connection between like different games. So if, for example, if I played Mortal Kombat with you,
mm-hmm.
and we both play on Stadia, we both be putting our inputs through the Google servers, but then the Google servers would connect the game, and then they would send them to the Mortal Kombat servers, I would imagine, right?
Well, I would say for online play, yes, because it always has to be localized
Yeah.
like that for them. But that's why I'm asking with Warframes peer to peer, they don't have a.
So yeah, with peer to peer, it would go from my computer to Google server to your computer and vice versa.
But
So
I
I
mean,
think
would that be 10 times
honestly,
worse if I have a phone? Like,
I know I
yeah,
think it'd be better actually. I
okay,
honestly think it'd be better just because Stadia requires well, it depends on your internet, I guess, at this point, right?
mm-hmm,
So I think you're kind of in the same boat as you are now, more or
yeah.
less. So
And I mean, in case anybody from DE's listening, we don't have much data on demand for Stadia. Well, you
I
got
would
you
say
got
go
one.
for it.
You
I,
got one. I'm
I
interested
yeah,
because
honestly, I think go for it because uh, your game is free to play, and
oh yeah,
Stadia has no free to play games as far as I know.
I'm trying to think. I don't
I,
think so,
they're all
but that is
AAA
a very
games.
good point, especially if someone wants to hop in and try, because
Exactly.
if they can figure it out, ideally before, because right now, like I think November when it quote unquote launches, it's kind of the people that were the early adopters that are testing it.
Yeah.
Whenever that next period where it's going to be open to everyone, if they can figure it out by then to be on there, like you're saying, that would be a perfect thing for let me
Yeah.
hop in, like let me find so I don't have to pay money to try this.
Exactly.
Especially since I don't it sounds like you can't like for most of the games that have been announced, you can't really
all
be
of the
like,
games all of the games you have to buy it. That's kind of my
okay.
the point really that I'm
Yeah,
trying to
so
make.
that would probably be yeah. And honestly, I'm sitting here thinking because I know with Destiny 2, you have the cross save thing where it takes, so you can move your characters across. I was honestly thinking because I was planning on getting Stadia. Um, yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I could probably play Destiny 2, on my laptop or something like that easily, or, phone or whatever, if I have the right phone or eventually the phone, um, when I'm out and about or whatnot. But oh my
Uh,
god, if
I'm looking
if
at the
if I have
games.
Warframe, that's just keeping me in that ecosystem.
Yeah, they're all either AAA games or popular indie games. So
Okay.
yeah, you have. Oh, there's Elder Scrolls Online.
Though that one, and
That might be
honestly, that was my biggest question for Elder Scrolls Online was,
it's
and
buy to play, isn't it though?
well, it's buy to play, but also is it going to be their own separate servers like the consoles are, or is it going to be attached to PC? Because I don't think it's
No,
going to have the life if it's a separate server. But anyway, that's not
yeah,
for.
no. It's gonna like think of the Google Stadia server as like a second half of your computer, essentially. So it's just
So you
going.
think it'll be PC servers just through?
Yeah. So your
Okay.
computer connects to Google Stadia and Stadia connects to ESO server and they communicate back and forth.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Well,
just like
in the
another
end,
layer.
come on, Warframe. Oh my god.
I really, yeah, if you can cut a good
You
decent
raised a good point
deal,
with the free to play thing. I didn't even think of that until.
if you can get a decent deal with Google on that, it is easy money until like Google tries to renegotiate, then we might have a problem. Um but I think like if you are one of the first free to play games out there on Stadia, it is a good thing because one, it is a barrier to entry removed because, and then for people who are
I
considering
mean,
Stadia have an option, a decent option, honestly, to play like a good looking game. And
and I mean, we when we did previous shows, we've had a couple of people that we know from Guild Wars 2 and stuff that when we were talking about when we were watching TennoCon and stuff, they were like, "Oh, this sounds really cool, especially with the updated graphics." But oh man, now my computer's never going to be able to run this. And I've seen that a couple other times where it's like, "Oh, it's going to be even more taxing." Well, this, like you said, removes that barrier to entry. You don't need
yeah,
a higher end to
that's
make it look
Stadia.
pretty.
Yeah, that's Stadia in general. Plus, in
Yes.
addition to the free to play entry barrier to entry,
Yeah.
it's just perfect.
Yeah.
Like I can't the the only problem I could see is like trying to strike a decent deal for yourself with Google. That's the only thing I can see being a problem, I guess.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know the ins and outs since I'm not a developer. Are they wanting a percentage of the microtransactions or,
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
So it comes like, so if they ask for like, I don't know, 10% of all microtransactions type of deal in order to keep it on your servers, I don't know if it might be worth it.
yeah.
Personally, if I run the number, well, you
Oh, I'm sure they're running these numbers too, because
you have to run numbers, but like the Stadia is not technically the first of its kind. There are other like iterations, but this is the first popular one. This is the first that actually has the potential to become an actual thing. So
I would say this is the one that's trying to thrust it into mainstream. Because yeah, you do have the other ones like using like Nvidia's
yeah,
Shield, or was that Nvidia's something
yeah,
or other? But
GeForce Now, I
it,
think it was called, or something
oh,
like
that's
that.
it. Yeah.
I know like there was like some Amazon servers you can actually host to games to as well, but like those I've never heard of those until like I heard of Stadia. Uh, so like has weight to it. So it's I don't know if they're gonna wait and see. I don't know if they're like working on something in the background, but I think like the first free to play games on this platform have the chance
We'll
to
have a
make,
lot of people coming in just so they can try it.
yeah, yeah, and then they might like, oh, I like this game, and stick around, and then
Oh boy, if
and,
they do that, they really gotta. I mean,
and
they might want to really step up that new player experience thing.
yeah, it's not coming soon. Taking
I don't know if they ever set a date or anything. I know that it's like relatively close, like that they're it's one of their more active projects that they're working on. But
They might come out with Imperium. To be honest, I think that'd be a good time.
ooh, that would be.
But yeah,
Oh my
um,
god. If I could if I could fly around on my big screen, like
yeah. I mean, D like that's a really good deal for you. Like I think out of all the game companies I could think of in my head, like the Warframe is like it did really well on Switch too. Now I think about it,
yeah,
right?
because
It's
I
like,
know a lot of people like the portableness of it. I know a lot of things that withheld people was, oh, I have to migrate my account. I'll never be able. But if
yeah,
it's working like you're saying, it seems like it might work. Is if it's going through all your PC stuff, you don't have to worry about that. I'm
yeah.
curious if how much they have to give to Steam, like with that, because
Uh,
speaking of microtransactions, how they have to, give Steam a cut, I assume. That's usually how it
uh,
works. So I'm
I
curious
think,
of,
yeah. I don't know that deal. Final
because I
Fantasy,
wouldn't be surprised if it's the case, Google's probably aware of it and they're probably willing to be somewhere around that value. So maybe that might not be,
I think Google will try to ask for more. To be honest,
uh,
well, yeah,
honestly,
actually, I don't
I
know.
could see them asking for less to get people in.
Yeah, that's true.
And then, like you said, the potential dangers of renegotiating or
That's the only issue. But honestly, if it comes down to that, whatever they do, they split off. They offer migration to PC or something, or whatever platform they want.
Mhm.
If they do before the split happens, I think that'd be the end of that. But
Anyway, I mean, I think we got a lot more time out of this than I was
yeah,
expecting.
yeah,
Well, thank you for helping me gush about that. Like I said, I didn't even think about the free to play aspect and it what sounds like being kind of the only free to play option if it could make it onto there. So that would be a pretty big, yeah. So anyway, before we re-gush about it, let's gush about something else, which I know we talked about it last episode, and neither of us were able to get a hold of it. But since this past 2 weeks, someone has gotten a hold of Gauss and has got a bit of uh, Gauss fever, I would have to say. So, I mean, age,
I love this frame
Gauss
so
away.
much. It's so good. I don't know, like I'm like in Overwatch, I'm that Lucio player just wall riding. I've like Sonic the Hedgehog when I was a kid, even though he's a meme now, but I still like him. So I'm that person who likes to go fast. So with Gauss, like the first thing I did was like look up like all the abilities and try to figure out the best way to build them. So for me right now, it's just ability duration and sprint speed, just so I can keep up the red line buff, so I can keep up mock speed, so I can use it for less, so I can keep running more. And then I have efficiency, I think a little bit of efficiency, just so it burns less when I cast it. Because like sometimes when you cast the mock rush, you can run into walls. So it's like, oh, it feels bad. So you just, you,
But you do get that,
oh,
like, because
yeah.
his passive, like, creates like a pulse or something that does damage or something if you run into walls.
Yeah, so when you're on walls, you do an AoE damage. That's the thing. I put like a bit of range, but I have like other mods that kill my range. So like, it's still higher than 100%, but still pretty good. I keep the strength at 100 for now. Um, there are because the macro scales off of sprint speed, not a strength. I think Redline scales off of strength, but like I'm literally using it to keep up mock rush. So that's kind of like my playstyle right now, and it's been pretty fun. I'm enjoying it. And until I get like Umbral mods, that I'm pretty gonna stick to that type of setup. And then I
Yeah, I
have
was
a
gonna say
second
you've
setup.
been trying to outfit him as like a super speedster. You've
Yeah.
been kind
So
of
yeah, that's kind of like my all. I have two configuration. That first one I described was just like the base one I've been using, and the second one is purely just putting speed and aura mods and being fast.
which you were saying you kind of derived inspiration from. At least you linked this video. I remember seeing it. It was a good humorous video because it does play off of the pronunciation of Gauss. I'm gonna call him Gus.
Yeah.
But it was Xanagoth's video, which was titled "Warframe: Saint of Plus Ultra." So
Yes. So anyone who's watched No Academia understands what this is going to be about. Um, so this person wants to go really fast and decided to do the base build. He did pretty much the build I did. I was missing one mod, and I didn't actually know about Kogage Prime giving you extra
I
5%
was just
strength.
gonna say, were you aware of that thing?
I
I
did
I
not
wasn't
know.
until I watched that video.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. And I didn't realize the the mod on rifle gives 25 sprint speed, but I already had it on, so I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then I was gonna like ask my friend like if he wanted to partner up with me in Vault and like just see how fast we can get. But then this guy found out a way to get 7 other people into an
Oh yes.
instance and just like had one of each Warframe that does speed buffs or aura buffs and just just went on a journey.
And it's important for people to note it's not like it's a exploit or something. If
Yeah,
you go into the capture a scene, which is where you can take pictures or anything like that, that's where you can actually have 8 people in a scene. So it's not like
yeah.
using an
What's it
exploitation or
called?
anything like that. They're
Like
called the
collation?
capturers.
Oh, it's called capture.
Yeah.
I thought it was like collation or something. But anyway, yeah. So he got like what was it? It was Octavia, a Vault, a Night. I want to say Nidus, Zephyr, and like two other ones you can watch in the video, and then like he had this whole flow of how the buffs work out before he actually starts running, and it was just crazy. Like he was running so fast, the field of view flipped while he was running. So that's how fast he was going.
No,
So
chat's saying possibly Nova's in there somewhere.
yeah,
Which
there's
yeah.
no that's true. But yeah, it's crazy, crazy stuff. Oh yeah, there was an Equinox. There we go. That was it.
Oh yeah.
Um, crazy. Oh yeah, and a Wisp. There we go. That's awesome. So yeah, it's. I was impressed, and I'm pretty sure there's a cap, but apparently it's faster than Itzel, which apparently got nerfed somewhere down the road.
This would have been impossible to plan, but I was kind of half expecting, like when they were showing like how they were getting, because he was like, I think the video was like, most people have gotten 3 of their friends, but I'm getting 7, and showed all the buffs like you're saying, and they showed how they were going fast. I was waiting for it to like flash, and all of a sudden then be in like a scene from like I mean, I guess you could kind of cheese it, like get like a scene from like Halo 1, so it looks all like it looks like he time traveled backwards, like, but ideally it's like get like something from like launch of Warframe.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. But yeah,
He's in front of a Dark Sector poster.
Yeah, there were some other memes in there that were pretty funny. It's like this was like the crux of the build for the video for me, just getting all those 7 people and formulating this plan in order to get that speed. And it was crazy cool.
Now you can't use that when me and you race and I have Grendel.
Well, you could get the bus too.
No.
Okay. Okay, fine. That's fair.
But yeah, I was gonna say I haven't heard Age stop talking about Gauss as soon as he started
super fun, man.
Playing with it, getting into it.
I love it.
No, it's awesome.
Now, I'm here.
Oh wow, thanks. Wow.
I know. Hey, at least I didn't blow you off. That's good.
Yeah, that would have. Now time for Age's gush for Gauss. Age. Oh, ouch. Man.
It's okay. You know what? If you blow me off for Grendel, I completely understand.
Well, no, because you didn't blow me off for Gauss. I can't do it. Like, jeez, I didn't even think that was an option. Now I know. Jeez.
See, guys, now I entrapped him, so now he has to show up.
But I mean, how much are you gonna get out of Gauss if you won't be able to play him? If there's ever a Warframe 2, which don't panic, they didn't announce anything. This is kind of like a community ideas and thoughts section. So
okay,
yeah, everybody don't panic of all of the microtransactions you just had fading away. It's not.
Oh god, yeah, that would not be fun.
But no, I saw someone on Reddit, I think they also posted it to the forums, were suggesting moving the game to a second iteration. They kind of make a comparison to the Pokemon games, and I guess you see this in like, I mean, Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2, loads of games that have a sequel where you start from scratch every time. They use Pokemon games, I guess, since there's so many iterations of them, but they say how the Pokemon games, you get new Pokemon, maybe some previous ones carry over. So I guess I could relate to the Guild Wars 2, how there were some skins that you could bring over, but their idea was, you get a new storyline, basically though with the same goal in mind. They said the difference between the two games is it is a model in which new content and game modes are presented.
Okay.
And I like their idea of basically they were trying to relate that model to Warframe and say, like, their idea was basically, since we're in like the, I guess, Soul Galaxy, everything that surrounds the sun here, what if this supposed Warframe 2 happened on the Andromeda galaxy, or another different galaxy where it's you're not running Earth and all that stuff over again.
Yeah,
This
I get
person's
that.
Yeah, I was like, I like that idea, especially. I mean, granted, I like it if they expanded the Warframe one. I guess you can kind of see my bias here. I don't think, but anyway, one of the other things they talked about was positive would be that new players would not feel overwhelmed, which I have heard that is a big criticism of Warframe is
Yes.
coming into the game. It is very overwhelming. Hence why they're trying to
Um,
deal with the new player experience and stuff like that, is to try to ease people into it.
yeah, I would
Um,
say that's one of the because like when I started, there was like a whole bunch of different systems. There was like less systems than there were now, but there's still quite a few things. And then they reworked a few things. And the one thing I think in particular that they reworked that was like I had to learn was the new mod system because it was like totally different for me. It was like night and day. I think it was like fourth year of Warframe when they did that, something like that, somewhere around there when I came back, and I played around with them. It's like, oh, it's so different. It's like, what's this? There's this endo thing. It's like so. So it's like, yeah, it's like because like basically I was like combining mods in order to make stronger mods. That's how old of a player I am. And like what I mean, like two of the same mods to get a tick into like the next level of that mod. That's where I was. I went from that to like endo, and I was like, I had to learn that. I think I don't remember if they had Forma back then, but yeah, uh, there's a lot of different systems, and there's things that you want to do that like you see like the player quarters, and it's not clear how you get that and things like that. Um, there's this thing growing on your neck. How do I get rid of it? Type of deal.
yeah,
Um,
I know there's been like a lot of times where I've had to Google the thing or go into the wiki or something like that. It's
yeah. But I think after I would say like a month, maybe a month and a half, you kind of get a decent grasp on it, and you kind of like learn things as you go. And then there's the wiki for things that you don't, or forums for things you don't. But it's definitely not an intuitive game. And then if you come in now, especially, you have stuff like I don't even know if you have access to Nightwave or things like that. So it's like an extra layer of stuff. So
well, and I think that granted, I think they made corrections to that last episode, last patch we talked about, because I think that was one thing that confused some of the new players or people that haven't made it that far was because you do get Nightwave, and there's some that are handy where it's like use a glyph. I think some of the smaller stuff where it's like slowly teaches you little bits about the game, but then there was like stuff that revolved around actually having done like you know uh, the second dream or War Within, where people aren't there yet. It's like take down an Eidolon. They're like, what the heck's an Eidolon? And then you have these new players that are going into these matches that aren't prepared, like they can't even fight it because they're not there yet. But I think in the last patch they are now hiding that from them. So
which makes sense.
they're still learning.
And I'm still learning.
Yes,
I recently learned about Arcane's past couple of days ago and what they do. It's like so yeah. So um and there's probably a few other things, few other NPCs I don't know about, and so it's just taking it bit by bit.
it's just I don't know a lot of this stuff, and I know some people like they were also kind of considering it because a lot of players feel like we're having a content drought, which I for me I've been enjoying myself. I've been fine with the new mission type, but I know that's not enough for some people. But this is their idea, which is kind of an interesting idea, and I know a lot of people kind of picked up on this. Was you think we have a content drought now, but you want them to stop working on this so they can go behind closed doors and work on a Warframe 2. Like you're basically just moving the content drought longer. Like why not just add it on to there? So
Yeah, I mean, Warframe in and of itself is pretty decent enough to support a second large iteration of the game, in like a different galaxy even. So
I mean, I would like to see like if the story progresses, or who knows when what is it, the Duviri paradox? What if we go to another parallel dimension or something? Like if there is a secondary solar system that we're going to, like like,
imagine start charting an entire. Oh man, that'd be interesting. But yeah, it's a bit kind of like the Guild Wars 2 scenario where people like have nothing to do even though there's like stuff to do. It's just the stuff that they don't want to do.
uh-huh.
And then you have like fairly new or casual players like me who are coming in and just like have a bunch of things to do. Like I still have at least 4 quests to do, in addition to pretty much Nightwave. So uh, and I get it from I totally understand where those Warframe players are coming from. Um, but I guess like for me it'd be like, okay, there's nothing I want to do in Warframe right now. I'll just come back when I have something to do. But I understand people want to just like solely play Warframe, so it's like you're stuck either farming for stuff or you're just like tediously waiting for the next piece of content to play. Um, because some of the quests are repeatable and are fun, but you don't want to keep doing that all the time, right?
Yeah, it
So
can get a bit stale and
yeah. So unless you're like me and want to like be a completionist and go like get all the frames maxed out, and then go for all the weapons maxed out, like go for relic runs so you can get more gear to max out type of deal. Like, because that's something that intrigues me. So that's something I want to do. But if you're not that type of player,
I think that's how I've always seen Warframe. Is it's a you're supposed to max out every frame, every weapon, and I know a lot. Like I think it's basically after Mastery rank 15. There's really no other recipes currently, but the more they introduce weapons and stuff like that, that increases everybody's MR. So we might start to see higher MR requirements on like some of the prime, you know, uh, most of them felt like they were prime, but also maybe some of the standard weapons, just because the uh, MR rank is getting easier to obtain at the
yeah,
lower end.
uh, yeah, because I've literally like I said, I literally leveled 12 frames in the past couple of days, and I've almost at the second rank, uh, second plus rank, so I'm almost 14 now. So I hit 13 like Saturday, and then now I'm almost at 15. So,
And one of the worst things is you find a frame you like. It sounds horrible, but if you're trying to go for MR and you find a frame you like I've been like I said, I've been enjoying Wukong. I've been stuck at the beginning, I think, of 18 so long because I'm like, I got these weapons I like, I got my Wukong I like,
uh,
but I'm like, I should really be, and I have so many things lined up in my, uh, crafting, my crafting thing that, I,
yeah,
but
I
I'm just like,
understand.
I want to play this.
I level one thing at a time. So like if it's super, like if it's a friend, like I didn't like leveling in Naros. 'Cause to me, it felt really methodical and slow.
Oh, I
Uh,
like Inaros.
but yeah, I don't have a build for him yet. But it's like I just used my Opticore Vandal and I just shot things till I was like, and then I in survival till I got like levels or till like I had enough. Then I went back in leveled again. Like I did that 2 3 times till I got max. Then moved on to the next one. And like for leveling weapons, I'll go on like a frame I like playing, and then I'll just level the weapons one at a time.
Yeah, I think chat's in the same boat as like I was saying. You find the ones you like, and then it's like you just grow attached to them. It's hard. It's hard to shake that.
Yeah.
Um,
It's not that
gotcha.
hard when you need MR, so
True.
especially when I
Um,
have bounties. Like I Fortuna is the first thing I've been actually ranking up actively, and it's been hard. I'm going to finish by the weekend, essentially.
you're gonna finish up the Fortuna stuff, like
Yeah,
Fortuna.
like getting to the fifth rank, and
Oh, okay.
it's been 2 weeks, so
I
that's how
mean,
it's
do I
been
want
kind
to
of slow.
do I want to discourage you or?
I know I want the Archon mod. That's why I'm doing this.
Well, I was gonna say there's a
I
kind of
know,
like how we have Cetus and then the Quills. There's
I
a
know, I
okay.
know,
As long as you knew.
I know, I know. There's
Though,
that
yeah,
one. That's the
though
next one
this
I'm doing.
the funny thing is, well, maybe I'll join you with some of the runs, but I think it was this past weekend. I hopped in because I did the first two. They call them the heists, which are like the bounty missions for that uh, secondary one in Fortuna. And the first two kind of set up. The third one is where you get the grav mag, which gets you the unlock so you can use your weapons.
Yeah,
But yeah, I finally got that third one, and I I mean, granted, I don't have a lot of mods for my Arcwing weapon, but my regular primary weapon does more, like destroys things a lot faster than that does.
I know. But the only
But
reason
it looks cool.
yeah, exactly. You do it for cool factor, and I need to level up my weapon so I can do the Jordis mission because I have a terrible gun for it.
And that's what I'm looking forward to. Is it'll be a probably easier way to level up those weapons instead of running Arcwing missions. I'm sorry, DE, but they're just
Arcwing's missions are terrible. I'm sorry. Yeah,
yeah, they're.
they're not.
I think I don't mind them as much as other people, but they do start to. I think they're the first ones to start to grade on. Like you're just like I don't want to go into another one. At
Like
least
I I'm on level 24 of Itzel, and I've not formatted it. That's how rough it is to level Arcwings. But I figure with the arc gun, like at least I can just run bounties and I can shoot things and things like that, so I can like at least level it in regular missions. Uh, and the sword, I need an arc sword mod too eventually, but yeah. I don't know what they can do for Arcwing missions. I wish they can. I wouldn't mind an exterminate with a lot of opponents instead.
yeah. Sometimes they just feel like they're so far and few between. Like it's like
Yeah. Like make it a void one and make it like a level 30 to 40, I guess. Because that would feel a little bit better to level, in my opinion. Or survival, Arcwing, maybe.
I mean, since we're kind of talking about like
Rush
gameplay
first.
and gameplay and stuff, let's talk about the other thing I saw on Reddit. I think it was today about end game presentation,
Mhm.
and we'll save the other one because I think it'll be it definitely it would make this part weird, but the end game present it was an end game presentation by Reddit user Bloody Baron 5. He said he came up with this idea with some friends on, I believe, Discord. Hopefully he's a subscriber. He can get that bundle stuff that we were talking about earlier. But his concept was looking at basically dungeons. And he was saying how they would be similar to Sanctuary Onslaught. The dungeons involve completing one zone after another. The amount of zones would be left to the player's decision to please the short raids enthusiasts as well as the extended dungeons crawlers in the community. These could be divided in up to 4 tiers. He was suggesting short would be 5 to 15 zones, medium would be 15 to 25 zones, long would be 25 to 35 zones, and endless would be 35 and above. How it would kind of function was through the different syndicates would kind of send you on different dungeon types. For example, he has like parent, and these are all examples from him. Parent sequence. This dungeon would focus on single target damage. It would have double boss spawns every 6 zones, and your main objective would change between all the game modes that we have, including assassination. Steel Meridian, basically dealing with like Kuva, the Grenier.
So different, based
Different
on
types
where.
depending on the syndicate to make it thematic type thing.
Sounds like you want Diablo.
It does sound, and I know a lot of people made like Path of Exile like nods to that and stuff, and apparently he said on the Reddit post, and let me see, I think I might have put the link up a bit, yeah, in case people want to see and make your suggestions. I know he said that he posted it on Twitter. I didn't see a Twitter link, but apparently Steve Sinclair replied to it along with I think another YouTuber. I want to say it was I think it was Mogamu, I believe he said it was, if I'm not mistaken. But like I said, it revolves around the syndicates that kind of send you on different missions. He did go into the rewards, but as people started picking at it, he was like, well, those could be kind of up in the air type things that the team could figure out. And I respect that, just because I know when we talk about stuff in Guild Wars 2, it's like I look at rewards like, well, those are the things that they can tweak and figure out because they have the data about the economy and stuff like that, stuff that I normally don't have access to. So usually rewards I'll leave ideally up to them. In the end, I just hope they're good. It's that's the. But yeah, I'm kind of curious your thoughts from the gameplay perspective. Like you said, it kind of sounds Diablo-esque.
I like it. I mean, it's always fun to have like challenge runs like that. There was a game back in the day called Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance that had kind of like so it had like a gauntlet type of mode to it. So it sounds kind of like that too. So like I would be totally up for that. That would be kind of cool.
Now my question is, maybe you can because when I read it and I agreed with people, is because they say similar to Sanctuary Onslaught. I really don't see too much of a difference from Sanctuary Onslaught. Except for the use of the syndicates to tweak the things.
I have to look up Sanctuary Onslaught.
Oh, it's basically if you go to Cephalon, his kind of you basically run that gauntlet of people, different things. You basically have to keep killing things to keep your percentage up. If it drops to 0, he kicks you out, but you see how far you can go and get points. And
yeah,
trust me, your Saren will be great for it. I'll just tell you that right now. People love Saren in Elite, and there's an Elite version of it, Elite Sanctuary Onslaught, which basically just starts the enemies at a higher rate, and I think starts your percentage at a lower rate.
Okay. Yeah, it does sound like it. Maybe this person just hasn't done the new Strange, I guess, in order to unlock it. But
I think they even say in there it's like similar to Sanctuary Onslaught, so they're aware that it's similar. It's just, for me, apart from, like I said, adding the syndicate stuff, I didn't see too much of a difference.
Okay, so the syndicates make a difference. I think the only difference is that the Sanctuary's Onslaught is endless versus this one is like has an end. So is there like an end? I don't know if there's like an end reward type of deal.
Depending on how long you go, I think after so many times it actually rewards you with. I've gone like actual radiant relics like that are already fully maxed. But also, you depending on how far you go, you can randomly get the blueprints for what's the frame? The one that has the dog, or the the oh
Huh?
Korra. Korra? Is that their Warframe? Chat might be able to help.
Okay.
Yeah, Korra. And Kavat.
Okay.
Sorry,
Sorry.
I know. I just say dog or something. But yeah, I think that's how you get the Korra pieces from Sanctuary Onslaught and Elite Sanctuary Onslaught. So there are rewards to it.
Okay.
But I also say I want to pitch you my idea that kind of sprung to my mind, and it was based off of, because like I said, I like the idea of utilizing the syndicates more, like, and I know they have said in the past that they've wanted to. And full credit to them, because this is what kind of triggered my idea for it, kind of relaying back to, we don't have any challenging content like enough for the people that, say they, I know that's been one big complaint previously, like we were talking about. So my idea was basically, you would have it would almost be like what we have, the nightmare missions and stuff like that, make it like already a little bit harder, but it can be on any of the map tiles type thing. You basically have another of these mechanics, but it's, I think at first you could start with just the syndicates, but you could ideally expand it. But think of it as when you go into there, it will naturally start at a higher level, maybe start at swordy level mobs. But basically the concept of, and I also like their concept that they were talking about with, I think it was parent sequence, where it can change the mission type at a moment's notice type thing. And they kind of do have that in game. Like, I think you see it in a couple missions. I think it's, I've noticed it mostly with what are they called? Not infiltrate, like basic sabotage missions, where like sometimes it feels like if I finish a mission too quickly, it's like, hey, while you're here, kill 15 more people or something like that, or like gives you a secondary execution mission. But usually that's only after you get the evacuation thing, and then it takes it away from you and says kill 15 more or something, and then you can evacuate again. I wonder if they have the tech to make it just happen during the thing, like it doesn't require evacuation, you know? But to basically achieve what they're saying is like switching up different mission types within a mission. But I was thinking you could add weird modifiers like the things they're suggesting with the syndicates. Think of like Halo skulls. If for people that haven't played Halo, they I know some of the really, like, usually the hardest achievements are basically completing Halo's campaign, and it's called Lasso, basically legendary all skulls on, like basically
I see.
And some of them are like turning the HUD off, which could be interesting. I don't, it depends on what route they want to go, but maybe even utilizing some of the stuff that they brought up of parent sequence, like would focus on single target damage, like maybe just modifiers to make it more challenging. But what I would like about it is you could basically pick your own difficulties, like I said, stemming from maybe the syndicate difficulty or wherever they want to deem the difficulty. But then maybe you turn on 2 skulls and then they spawn at a higher level. You turn 4 skulls on, they spawn at a higher level with all these modifiers. You turn on all 6 skulls, they spawn at the max level, which should be hard with all these modifiers, but you can do any combination of them. So maybe if you want an easier time, if you're want that, you can, or you could just do one at a time. But like I said, that would be a good way to increase the end game difficulty, is 1 skull versus the all skulls that you kind of see in Halo. And I would imagine an easy way, and I liked what someone suggested, was similar to the arbitration missions, where instead of having a drop table, they do have a drop table, but they give you those Vitus essences. So it's like a token to use at a store that they could just easily supply or fill up. Maybe if you only have 1 skull on, you only get ×1, kind of like how the guild system works. If you have all 6 on, maybe it is a 6 times multiplier or a 10 times. That way you're more incentivized to play
Hmm,
at the higher difficulty.
I see.
Oh,
Um,
and chat saying that's basically how the Nightfall scorecard in Destiny 2 works. Okay, that's
yeah, I was thinking about. I mean, yeah, I like the system. It's pretty fun. I was thinking, if they did something like that, the fastest thing they could do is kind of like have an alert type, and it would be it'd be kind of like how alerts work, but then like you would click on whatever planet you're on, and then you know how it has the option where there's something going on. It's be like the regular mission, and then you have the
yeah.
extra thing.
It gives you the option of
Yeah, it gives you the third option of this would be let's call it Halo Skulls for just
yeah.
for
That's probably the easiest. That's why I was referring to it as skulls.
yeah, so let's call it skulls for now. It's like so you have the option to do skulls, you click on it, and then it gives you, I don't know, difficulty ratings, and then like as you highlight over each one, it has on the side like this rating will do XYZ for today. And that way you can flex different types of modifiers onto those tiers for the day or for
Mhm.
the hours or where how long you want to keep it.
And I like that idea just because I know another people's complaints were if they wanted to do endless mode, would they theoretically have to wade through 35 zone? Like they were saying that was kind of the problem that they felt with Endgame was it's like, oh, I remember someone actually saying in a comment of I can already fight level 300 monsters, but I have to sit in like a survival for an hour, already. Like if I had to sit through 35 zones, which I think the person was saying in their idea that 35 zones would only be about 30 minutes or so, which I mean,
That's
it's
rough.
still waiting 30 minutes to go to the challenging content. I mean, what are we, Conclave? Um
Yeah, but there is a good point in there, and just that there aren't really harder planets to go on for people who are like really skilled or really decked out. And I noticed this when I was trying to find different uh, leveling spots. And for me, I sit in an a survival on Neptune. I forgot what it's called. It starts with a K, but I sit in there, and that's what I use to level my frames. So on a frame that can like survive pretty well, I'll stay forever, and I'll stay till probably like level 15, 20. But otherwise, it's like if it's like a bad spawn room type of deal, I'll stay to like level 7, get level 10 off of it, XP and things like that.
yeah.
There's only one frame I've stayed from 1 to 30, and that's Wukong. Just because with Wukong, you have the clone, so you could sit in the back and you could shoot things, or you could take out the staff early and then start swinging to get like extra XP. So,
And
um,
and I was thinking even with the skull system they could expand on it. Like I said, they could start with the syndicates if that was the easiest way, but then they could add like factions like maybe there's a corpus one where, you know, every credit you pick up does damage to you or something weird or something like that. Grenier,
oof,
maybe
I
if
mean,
you hit every time you hit an enemy there's a chance that it can create a clone or if they want to keep it thematic to each of the factions or
yeah,
heck even extend it to like maybe there's a holiday skull like during Easter if there's a special currency or during the the winter times or I mean they can expand it to any type or I think what would be cool is they keep expanding it with the factions that would stay permanently in the game. They would increase the idea of all skulls should be the ultimate level like you know maybe not introduce all skulls at first since what we only have 6 syndicates. I would say
yeah,
6 should be maybe a reward multiplier of times x whatever amount they want to say, but I think all skulls on should be one of those ones where it's like here's 10 and it's just crazy over the top, kind of like how Halo try to do with it, but that should be like the times 10 multiplier or something of rewards or
yeah. That makes sense. I would start off with like a few planets, just add like the higher levels.
mm,
Maybe on like some of the like 30, 40 planets, you can put those and see how it goes. Or make a new planet. Why not? There's room.
In the Andromeda system in the fake Warframe 2, like we talked about. No, oh.
Sure.
But yeah, no, I like the idea of getting the syndicates in there more, because like that's kind of what they've been wanting to attempt to do as well. So
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the idea that popped in my head, was like, oh, Halo skulls. That would be interesting, and you get really crazy with it.
Yeah. So I think it'd work.
Maybe even have a troll one where it's like DE Steve's Death Skull, like where like it constantly keeps turning your UI off or something, or your HUD or something.
That would just be annoying.
That's why I said it should be a DE Steve specific skull.
Take this challenge if you
I could just see him laughing as he watches people play it.
It's like, oh, I'm getting out of here.
Or every once in a while it just like reverses, like your walk forward is now backwards, that classic one.
It try to escape to hit abort mission, but it actually closes the menu, so you're back in the game constantly.
No escape. Yeah,
it's like you have to Alt F4 to leave.
Oh, but yeah, that, I don't know. I think that'd be kind of interesting to play around with. I definitely like the idea of trying to figure out a end game system. And like I said, I like this one just because it could utilize similar to the Nightmare stuff, where it's utilizing maps that already exist. It's just, and this is where the developer side would have to come in, where since I never have seen the code or anything like that, is it possible to do all this stuff that like alter it? It seems like it's possible through the other game modes, so I would assume, but
the UI makes sense. It's the extra statuses and stuff that might be trickier to balance out.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on the end game presentation done by Bloody Baron?
I think he has a good idea. Like he's taking stuff he's seen from other, ideally from other games, I guess, and just applying, and like the different races make sense, and then I guess trying to come up with something that can use the systems already in place to bring about a new experience is always kind of good, because it's utilizing tools and systems already in place, but like meshing things together and making something new is pretty cool too. So like, I do like the idea of just like this dungeon crawler based on different tile sets and races. So and then the idea of skull missions, just how it's basically fractals from Guild Wars 2, if you think about it.
Yeah.
But
fair, that part was my idea, but
yeah. Okay. We'll make it your idea. Don't worry.
Well, no, the skull one was my idea. All right.
The skull one was your idea, yes. Or was it 343s? But anyway.
Well, okay. Yeah, I'm not claiming I made Halo. All right.
But yeah, I like the idea of just having interesting end game gameplay. So just bring in from different games or from different ideas from what people have seen and seeing what can work in Warframe is not a bad idea at all, especially since like frames in themselves are very diverse in what they can do. So like, yeah.
All right. Well, I think we put this one off long enough. Maybe if you have seen on Steam, the recent reviews maybe have taken a bit of a dip. Unless you do have it, I think by default it has like the regional section. Depending on where you're at, it might still say overwhelmingly positive, but due to some review bombing concerns, it has been set at mixed as of recent. It seems like it has to do with, and before we get into this, in case people do know already and are already typing, We're not going to go into the political side of this, and I do mean the actual political stuff that it bled into. We're going to, as best, stick to, I think, what was some of the game concerns resulting it. We have no interest in the political side of it. That's not for a Warframe gaming podcast. I mean, at least ours. But yeah, it seemed like it was starting from September 14th. Warframe experienced a massive review bombing on Steam, which, like I said, changed its review state to mixed. Supposedly, the events, how this took place, was it was caused by a community outrage following an incident with one of Warframe's volunteer translators that were trying to translate simplified Chinese. And basically what we've heard was a simplified Chinese translator, well appreciated by the player base, was kicked out by DE for NDA violation, which I think is important to note because I think people were saying they went to social media and started complaining about the inner workings and stuff like that, which was, I believe, what the NDA violation was. But this NDA violation, or this NDA that, you know, you would have to sign an NDA to violate it, otherwise you wouldn't be in the thing, was an NDA that they gave them afterwards, and the violation that put them in trouble, the incident happened prior to the NDA. So basically what it sounds like was this person worked for them, like voluntarily, helped translating, had these concerns, spoke out about them, and then later on the NDA got put in place that he signed, and then according to this, he got in trouble for his previous stuff, which, I mean, that would be a weird set of circumstances because, I mean, you can't really enforce an NDA if you didn't have an NDA in place at the time. But the problem here is the translator was considered the decision unfair since DE used evidence, like I said, prior to the NDA. The translator proceeded to share his thoughts on Warframe's localization in 2 personal blog posts, and players spontaneously review bombed Warframe after hearing the news. Like I said, we're not going to the political side, but it seems like this person was well respected by the Chinese community in Warframe, but what I want to focus on is, first off, the concerns that arose apart from the political stuff was that people, and not just from the Chinese translation side, I've apparently across the board, DE's translations aren't good on any of the fronts. At least that's what some people are saying. I personally don't know, just because I am, you know, an English speaker and I don't really know many other languages fluently. But I mean, I guess let's first address that. Is how do you feel that is a problem that DE should address with Warframe? Is the supposedly major translation issues that are happening across the board?
Yes, localization is very important, especially in games. So having a clean translation, even if it's different cultural references, which in Warframe you don't really have, since it's like all of its own lore and universe and background. So it should be a lot more easier to localize. But you have to localize it well. I'm not sure exactly what's wrong. Maybe it's different sentence structure or something, but it's important. And it's always, I think the best type of translator in terms of localization is getting someone who knows, like, who lives in that country. So for example, if you want a Chinese translation, you want someone from China to actually do the translation. because if it's simplified Chinese, I know is the base translation, I think, for most
Mhm.
localization when it comes to Chinese, just because there are different types.
There's
So
different variations and
yeah, so I'm actually kind of curious why the translation is very poor. I don't know what other game Warframe is translated. I assume like a bit of Europe. I assume French at least.
yeah,
So yeah, I do think it's important, just because one, you showed that you care, and two, the people playing the game like don't think it's like a bootleg type of rip of the
mhm.
game, you know. So it's like done professionally, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Um,
Yeah, if you're trying to sell in that market, you should take some steps to accepting that market. I mean, you're
yeah. So I don't know who they hired. Apparently, this translator was native, so to China. So it makes sense that he's well received because he's probably doing the best job, like one of the people who is doing the best job in terms of translations. Um, so yeah,
yeah, I
it's
agree that I think translation is a, you know, like a great part. I mean, it it helps get more people into your game and invested in your game. I mean,
uh,
I couldn't imagine, I don't even want to imagine a language barrier for a lot of the games that I play. I mean, it would just be it's difficult. But
so yeah.
oh, good. Well, I
Uh,
was to say, I guess from the other half of this would be, what are your thoughts? And I would be curious of chats as well, um, of the way to get your point across through review bombing, in the sense. And for people that don't know what review bombing is if you're displeased with something, you get a group, whether it's a single community or basically an organized group, to go into a game depending on where their reviews are and a specific thing, usually Metascore or something like that, and
um,
give it negative reviews based off of uh, something political, like usually political or basically outside the game, like usually outside the game's control. Like, oh well, we were never a fan of their might, or EA's their public. Well, not in this case, but EA's their publisher of this game, and we don't support EA, so we don't support this developer, even though you have no knowledge of the game or something like that. That's one example of review bombing.
yeah. So we are talking a little bit of this earlier, but I think in terms of review bombing, you would only want to leave a review because you don't want people to play this game. So if the players that actually review bombed Warframe after this incident did it with that in mind, then I think they did as intended. If you wanted to make a statement, but without like actually impacting Warframe overall, but you just want change, then it would be much better to make a Reddit thread and let that get popular. That's literally one of the things that, like, if you look at any gaming industry news today, half the things are from Reddit threads, from
Mm-hmm.
people responding or people putting up stuff, things like that. So,
And I mean, I think we were just talking about this on Talking Script, about Guild Wars 2 is, um, just because the devs haven't responded to something doesn't mean that they're not listening or watching. I mean,
yeah.
and I
So in
think that
this,
might be a little bit of that too, is like, they're not listening to us. It's like, well, they're just not necessarily responding to everybody going, I hear you, or, it's,
yeah. So in this case, it's kind of like something you can't take back in this case. Whereas in Reddit, you can't take back what, well, can't. Well, I don't know. You can delete things, but like you can't. You once you put on Reddit, you can't take back what you said. But also, like, there's room for recovery for Warframe in and of itself. I'd like to be better. It's not like, because if you are a person, let's say you're new to Warframe, it's like, okay, I'm gonna play Warframe. I'm gonna play on Steam. It's like you go to Reddit and he's like, you want to see things about the game, and you see like not the negative stuff that happened 6 months ago. You see like the recent things, like oh, the latest Warframe, where it's like, oh, this is really cool, the new addition that they added. Whereas if you go to Steam and then you go and it's like you look at reviews, it's like mixed, huh?
Yeah.
And then you're actually going to go cycle through the comments and see the things like there. I'll give you an example of a more extreme example. So 2K released a new basketball game, 2K20. That got review bombed to hell because of the simulated gambling that Peggy decided wasn't simulated gambling for some stupid reason, but I won't get into that. And people didn't like it. And on top of that, they launched with bugs. Does that game deserve to get downvoted into oblivion? Probably, because the game isn't working, in addition to its cash up stuff. So, yeah. Will there also Reddit threads? Yes, because the issue is very prevalent, and people want it out of the game, and they want the game fixed. But yeah, it's in that case, when people downvoted on Steam, they don't want this game to succeed, and they want the company to listen in that respect, and that I get. Whereas in this case with Warframe, it sounds like they just didn't like what happened to this guy, so it's like, let's downvote this game. But I don't think I don't think all of them necessarily don't want Warframe to like die off because of that. I think they were just like upset, and they like a bunch of people got together on like a forum wherever or however they do it in China, and they say let's just do this thing. You know,
Yeah. I
that's
mean,
what I feel happens.
in the end, I think there's always a better avenue than just trying to do review bombs. I mean,
Yeah, for like in this day and age, I think Reddit is the best. Like social media in general is the best way to go about it, in a constructive manner, obviously, in order to get your point across. And obviously, not putting money towards the games that you don't
though I
support.
was gonna say, you're talking about putting money towards the game. I posed this question to you because I think I've seen it a couple times here and there. Is we've talked about in the past with Guild Wars 2 and other games where it's like you're supposed to vote with your wallet. You're supposed to be a
Yes.
now. I mean, I guess some people can. Personally, I don't see this, but as a nice thing to do. But I guess some people say instead of voting with your wallet, how about you try to block them from money? Because I don't know if DE has this kind of stipulation, but I've heard this in the past of some game developers get a bonus if they get a meta score of yada, whatever value
Oh,
they.
I see.
We've heard that in the past. So if you use it that way, I mean, you are hurting them financially.
Uh,
And like I said, I don't know if DE has this kind of a case, but
I
I think that's also a mentality I've been seeing.
I like if a game like the whole point of a game review system is like to review, like to give your opinion of a game. If you think a
I
game is bad, then yeah, review, like download it, sure. But like if you think a game is decent, give it like the give it the rate, give the game the rating it deserves, and then you give the reason why, obviously, and or not, I guess. But like don't just act just on one thing, right? Like um what's a good example? Uh, um, like in Guild Wars 2, for those who don't know, there was like a time where There was an expansion pack called Heart of Thorns that came out, and it had a bid situation. It was decent expansion, but it had some problems in terms of it was being a little bit more hardcore than the population was used to. So they had to take some time to fix it up. And in response to that, they had to suspend their legendary weapon system that they were going to put out gradually over time. And they had to suspend it for a little bit of time in order to fix the expansion. And people got really mad about that. So, like, imagine if you took that emotion and took it to like downvoting, like giving Guild Wars 2 a bad rating just because you weren't going to get legendary weapons for the next 3 to 4 months. So it's like versus a game like Anthem that launched terribly and needed like at least 6 more months in development to order to launch properly to have like decent success and not have its roadmap completely shut out because they've only released one major thing since its launch, and that was Cataclysm, I think it was called. Yeah, it's like there's for me there's the right way to use a game review system, and then there's other ways to get feedback across about certain features or aspects that you think could be better. So if
And honestly, I'm also on the side of I don't think the companies that utilize that, like, oh, if you guys get a 80 or above Metascore, you guys get a bonus. I think
yeah,
that's another crappy way to utilize it. And I
that's true.
mean, just because look, you do open yourself up to that. People do look at it as a way to, hit people, and like you're saying, they could. There's really poor vetting across that kind of stuff. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, like, I'll go back to the Anthem example. So if you play Anthem and you like Anthem and you want to give it like 8 out of 10, give it 8 out of 10. If you played
yeah,
Anthem and you thought it was terrible, buggy, loading, it was too slow, the menus were terrible. These are things that I'm pulling out, and it deserves like I don't know 3 out of 10. Give it 3 out of 10. Like, but you have to base those ratings on the entire game as a whole rather than just parts or like things that happen outside the game. um if you so if I was a native Chinese individual and I played Warframe and I thought the game was good but the translations were terrible, probably give it uh maybe 7 out of 10, just like if it was just that aspect that bothered me.
yeah.
Like that's how I'd rate it. But like uh you could do like a pros cons list when you're doing your game review, things like that. Like there's a lot of different ways to do it to like
Well,
get
but I
feedback.
think that's also the problem is I think some of them had legitimate concerns, but I believe a lot of them did do copy paste from like other downvotings. So clearly, either this person, whatever one they saw that they copy and pasted, it spoke to them and said, "This is how I feel too," or it's a malicious attack, which 9 times out of 10, if
So
it's
yeah,
organized, it seems like it's
it depends on the rating. Is it if it was like a thumbs up, thumbs down thing, it's kind of
and I
hard.
think that's what Steam is, right? It's just thumbs up.
Oh yeah,
Well, I
so
think you
yeah,
can do.
so if they do thumbs down, it's like terrible localization. Please fix. I mean, if they really feel that way, I don't know. Maybe maybe the player base in China feels that that's important enough
That's
to
a
give it
game
a thumbs
breaker.
down.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
yeah, you never know. Like, maybe people feel that way. Like when I play Ragnarok online, uh, I wasn't really focused on the language. I'm more focused on like the characters and skills and stuff. But it's for some people maybe reading the things were very important. So
hmm
it's to
well,
each
I
their own at
mean,
that point. But
yeah,
it
and
maybe a lot of people feel that way. So
yeah, and
I
I mean, we I think we've talked this kind of in circles a bit here. As long I think what we're standing at is if these systems are used properly, but sometimes, like we said, as we're potentially seeing here can be used maliciously, but I think some people did raise valid concerns. But yeah, I think it looks a lot, and like you said, it could be a deal breaker for the China market. I don't know. From my standpoint, it sounds like your standpoint, and whoever else is out there.
Yeah.
I have played games like I played some MMOs where it's like they've only come out in Russia or something, and the event may eventually come to, America or whatever and get localization. But a lot of times it's like, yeah, I don't know what the heck's going on or something like that.
Yeah.
And granted, that's through, well, those aren't through as safe means. And I've seen other like MMO YouTubers and stuff that have tried to play other games in other countries that they had to go use roundabout ways. And so I guess that's also the other thing, is that's not through any official capacity.
Yeah, I'm wondering if localization from any other language to English is much easier than the vice versa.
Yeah.
I've never really thought about it because, like, thinking about it, English
to
is
English,
like,
yeah, because I think English is one of the more confusing languages, at least to learn. I've always heard.
yeah, because like English is like the language used for most business, uh, around like across the world, but yeah, I can understand it being
Not the ones
confusing.
I used to call. They used to hang up on my butt. Uh,
Yeah, but I don't know how English translates to other language, like except for French, but like uh translating it to simple Chinese may not be so simple. I
yeah,
don't know.
no, I couldn't.
That's yeah.
I
So
couldn't begin to imagine. Don't. I'm not anywhere near fluent in any of the different variations of Chinese. So.
yeah. So
But shall we kind of end on a slightly uptick happy note? I mean, you're gonna have to stick with me a little bit. It is a little bit dark at the beginning, but I promise you, it does get a little. There is light at the end of the tunnel.
we're gonna talk about Gauss.
No, we already talked about Gauss.
Oh, okay.
We're talking about Gauss going to Google Stadia. No, anyway, sorry. Before we go into that, no. In a bit of a serious note, I'm sure loads of people are familiar with the Grind Hard Squad. It's a YouTube channel. I know I've looked up when looking at builds. I've come across a couple for their builds. They also have some farming guides, some gameplay tips, stuff like that. But the one video popped up on their YouTube, I believe this past week, talking about how their mother was actually diagnosed with malignant skin cancer. For the longest time, they've been working on it like through different tests and treatments and stuff like that. I believe they were saying that they actually ran out of money, couldn't afford to really pay any of the future bills, but they still had more therapy treatments, radiation therapy treatments, medications to come. She wasn't out of the woods through the previous stuff. So they actually had a I think it was a GoFundMe. I think gogetfunding.com. Basically was trying to raise funds to pay for her radiation therapy treatment. And I'll link it in chat, and if you're watching on YouTube or anywhere else, we'll have the link there for you to the actual funding page. And I'm actually happy to say, kudos to the Warframe community. Within 10 hours of the video going up, out of the $4,000 that they were asking for, they raised 5.8 thousand. So they passed that what he was asking for his mother's surgeries and treatment. And I think as of right now, it's sitting at just over 10,000. So, I mean, awesome job to the Warframe community and everybody, stepping up and, helping take care of someone in the community. It's, been a predominant YouTuber, content creator for him. So, but I don't know. Do you have any?
Oh, that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah,
Like gaming communities usually like rise to the occasion when it comes for helping people in the community. Um, so that's pretty cool to see.
yeah, and
And
I
good luck.
mean, we hope, we hope this does help, and everything turns out, for your mother and everything like that. So,
Yeah,
whew. So,
not
like I said, it's
sad.
a little bit of an uptick of, he doesn't have to worry about the bills and stuff. They can focus on his mother and her treatment. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that is it for this week. So, Age, where can they find you, and what do you have planned for this week?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitch and YouTube at Age Nightwave. There is a new Guild Wars 2 patch called Ice Boots
Literally
Vampire
happening
Blood,
right now on
which is
Tuesday when we
happening.
did this
Yeah,
live.
we knew this was going to happen when we did this show, but like, it's fine. At least for me, I don't know what they are, but
It's
we're
Norn. I'm breaking out. No,
um. I was thinking of actually coming home earlier, but it's like whatever. So I'm probably gonna play that sometime this week. I might stream it. I'll probably stream it. At least the story bit. And I want to play some Warframe. I want to get to the Profit Taker, I think it's called. So after I hit that max rank in Fortuna, I'll be able to do those bounty stuff. So I'll probably stream that when I finally unlock it. And I also unlocked the Sacrifice, I think it was called.
ooh, yeah, the
Yeah,
story
so
stuff.
I'm like, I probably want to save this one because I think like that's like one of the good quests there. So yeah, I'll probably stream that too.
If you do get the Profit Taker stuff, because I would say I just had to. Like I said, I've been doing those missions, and basically I'm just trying to farm them now to get the Gravmac parts, because you have to put certain pieces into the dojo, because we have our own like dojo on our go to our Discord and stuff. We're right now we're sticking it at the roster limit of 10, but we're gonna try to open it up once we have most of the pretty much the research done, and I know that's one of the things, and so I've been meaning to farm that. So hey, if you go in there, let me know.
yeah,
I'll let you carry me
yeah, I need to
with
put
with your Gauss.
fast. Yeah, that's all I got going on this week. I might be busy this weekend, but that's other stuff going on. But yeah.
Awesome. And you can find me at simply_Deo on Twitch and Twitter. Same with the Guild Wars 2 stuff. I do have a psych background, and I actually have a brainwave device. I've actually done a couple in Warframe as well, where as I play along, it reads my brainwaves. I think since the last time I used that, I have a new headset. Kind of
Another
shows it a
one?
little. Well, if you've seen my most recent Guild Wars 2 one, but I think the last time Warframe, because I was just doing the story stuff, it was the old one. So
Okay.
if you've seen my most recent Guild Wars 2 one,
Yeah.
that's the one it is. But
I thought you got like a third one. I'm like, wait a minute.
no, it's just the second one still.
Okay, okay. Okay,
The
cool.
fancier one that takes a lot longer to set up. Um, but I'll probably be doing that in Guild Wars 2, and I'm planning Thursday, but just because normally Wednesdays, I know another person that's in our MAAD Realms crew, Jim, he usually does things on Wednesday. So while I'm doing stuff, that way he can do whatever he does. He usually does Guild Wars 2 stuff, so he might play it tomorrow. I don't know, but I'll also try to stay away from that, because I mean, what's the point of your brain reacting if you already know it's going to happen? But you should stick around. So come back tomorrow and check that out. But if you are just popping at the very end, we might do a little bit of an after show because I can't always guarantee, just because weekdays do
I
tend to be a
don't.
bit
Yeah,
tough.
I don't think I
I
can
was
do
gonna
on
say
this.
we already did like a 2.5 hour podcast.
Yeah.
Best bet is showing. Well, we normally can do a bit of a pre-show, so during weekdays, probably best bet is to show up for the pre-show. If you go to, you can watch us here on Tuesdays, twitch.tv/MAAD 2 A's in the MAAD. This show goes, we go live on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. What is it, 5 p.m. Pacific? And then we will put it up on our website, maadrealms.com, 2 A's in the MAAD, and that goes up on Wednesdays. And then on Thursdays, we'll open it up on our YouTube, which will be youtube.com/MAADrealms. And loved hearing from you. Do remember, this is a bi-weekly podcast, so the next episode will be October 1st, which is Prime Access, the changing of the guards. So, once again, everybody will be playing Atlas Prime, and I'll be sitting here going, I want to play it. But it's worth it to talk about this game and talk with everybody and talk with my good friend Age. So, yeah. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out, and we'll see everybody next time. Enjoy the outro.
Yes.
Farewell, Tenno, until we meet again.